I'm not saying Kane is going to Toronto. I'm not. In fact, that was a crazy video idea a year ago, a year and a half ago, something like that. We actually did make a video sometime in the past few years talking about Kane and the idea of him getting traded to the Maple Leafs in a package that included, like, I don't remember what it was, Robertson, Liljegren, was he in there? I'm not too sure. But that video got like 6 digits worth of views, which is like crazy for my personal channel right here. But still, even though that might have been the subject last time, even though that was a pretty big deal last time, now it's not so much so. And I'm not going to go out there and say that this video is distinctly 100% for sure saying, oh yeah, Kane is going to Toronto here, folks. It's just bringing up a conversation that was held. So, today we are talking about former Chicago Blackhawks and New York Rangers superstar Patrick Kane and what he has had to say regarding Toronto Maple Leafs' top-paid player, the NHL's top-paid player salary-wise, Auston Matthews. Now, immediately you could sense that there is a connection between Kane and Matthews because these guys are both American superstars. You could debate who's had the better career up to this point in their careers, etc., etc. I mean, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's kind of cool just knowing that Kane was, at a time, the best American player in the world, and Auston Matthews, you could very well say, is in that conversation in today's world. But when it comes to Kane, he's still a free agent at the time of recording this audio. Obviously, if this video gets public and Kane is signed on with another team, then okay, I mean, yeah, my bad. It sucks, it happens once in a while, but still, at the time of recording this audio, Kane is still a free agent, he has not signed, and we had ourselves an interview done wherein he actually goes out there and talks about his relationship with Auston Matthews. Take a look at this piece published a few days ago on apnews.com. This is, I believe it's the Alternative Press, is that what AP stands for? Associated Press, excuse me, my bad. Patrick Kane tells the AP he's back on the ice and feeling himself again 3 months after his hip surgery. The article, published by John Warrow on August 31st, 2023, talks about how Kane had himself this surgery, it was hip stuff, and it's really good and exciting for him to see the progression and feeling better on the ice. Kind of getting back to his old self, so it's pretty exciting. Now I will say, when it comes to Kane and being in his old self, quote-unquote, I mean, you just gotta look back to even just 2 seasons ago. 21-22, Patrick Kane had 92 points in 78 games played. 26 goals, 66 assists, and a lot of those assists were accomplished by feeding Alex DeBrincat left, right, and center. Now, of course, we know DeBrincat is no longer there, he is in Detroit now, but for Patrick Kane, you had still seen a high level of compete, of playmaking skills, and offensive potency out of this guy, even when DeBrincat left and Kane's overall point production dropped too. 45 points in 54 games played on a god-awful Chicago Blackhawks team last year, and also producing at under a point per game rate for the Rangers when he was one of the many just super talented players on that team. I really like what the Rangers did in terms of absolutely loading up, but when you take a look at it circumstantially, there's a reason why some of these guys' point productions were dropping. It's because you have to share the ice time with Tarasenko, Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin, among others on the New York Rangers. You have so many superstars on a team, it's gonna get a bit crowded. But this AP News article goes out there and talks about how Kane indeed had hip surgery and he is feeling a lot better, getting back to his old self. That's pretty good. But the real meat and potatoes about this idea of Patrick Kane and the Toronto Maple Leafs comes when you acknowledge that, hey, there are some pundits that are going out there and bringing this up. And in particular, I wanted to focus on an article on Fansided. This is the Editor-in-Chief website, so the Maple Leafs version of Fansided. Stephen Nixon wrote this about a month ago. Toronto Maple Leafs, 3 UFAs still available to sign. And of course, it's a Leafs article talking about Leafs stuff, and the first name mentioned is indeed Patrick Kane. Let's read Nixon's piece as to why this would work, the pitch here for Patty Kane himself coming over to the Leafs. He is a 3-time Stanley Cup winner, Hart Trophy winner, and Conn Smythe Trophy winner, and still has another potential 5 years left in his career. Despite dealing with injuries all season and playing the majority of the games on a bad team, he still scored 21 goals and had 57 points. He's currently on the shelf until most likely November or December, but the UFA would be a great fit in Toronto. I know $1 million seems crazy for Kane, but after this injury, he'd actually be smart to sign with a great team on a cheap deal and then get a crazy big contract in the summer of 24. If he could show he still has something left in the tank, a team will give him a 3-year deal somewhere between $6 to $9 million AAV for his services. Teams should be a little worried to give Kane a long-term deal now, which is probably why he hasn't signed. So a short-term, small-money deal in Toronto could lead to big things not only for the Leafs, but Kane as well. Ah, so that's what you're going out there and saying. The old Taylor Hall argument. Okay, signing a 1-year cheap deal with some random team, hopefully gonna give yourselves a stage to showcase your talent, and next season, when the free agent market gets a little bit more juicy because the salary cap is gonna be raised up, then you can make your money. Interesting. Now, the thing with this idea is that we know we've seen this in other sports. I know, like, it's pretty commonplace in the NBA for stars to sign short-term deals with teams and then just go from team to team to team, getting their payday along the way. But the culture is a little different in hockey. Now, of course, Patrick Kane is not young. He definitely does not have a long amount of time left in the league. 34 years old, after all. But if he did want to truly capitalize on what talent he has left, maybe it is indeed a Toronto Maple Leafs team that makes it work the best. Maybe it's the stage offered by Toronto, wherein Patrick Kane shines the brightest. If he signs a cheap deal, and he's all of a sudden one of the top players on that team, let's say a William Nylander replacement, for example, he produces like that, and he's able to mesh well with Bertuzzi and Domi, then there's no telling how much money he could be worth next year, and what the Maple Leafs could accomplish with that. In fact, there was an article floating around from 2 years ago, too, where Patrick Kane talks about playing with Auston Matthews. This, in particular, is referring to the Olympics and how the NHL did not decide to go, so Kane and Matthews were not able to play together. But it forms into the same ideas we were talking about earlier, how these two are the best American players in the NHL, or at one point they were number 1 and number 1. This is what Patty Kane said 2 years ago regarding missing out on playing with Matthews. We stay in touch throughout the season and got a lot of respect for him as a player. How good he is at scoring goals, his shot, just his overall game. He has become one of the best players in the league, so it would have been huge to have that type of player on a USA team and maybe get a chance to play with him as well. Hopefully we can get a chance to play together in the future, another big tournament, and have that opportunity. I just think in general, for USA Hockey, we would have put together a pretty competitive team, and it's disappointing how we're missing out. I don't think that'll change 4 years from now, but it would have been fun to have that opportunity and welcome the next generation of USA Hockey players and be able to be a part of that. Now, we had talked about this a week ago too, but we know the NHL is starting out their own process to try to get a World Cup of Hockey in there, another tournament, and then the Olympics. They want to get this best on best stuff going again. But by the time everything starts out, Patty Kane is going to be 35, 36, 37 years old, so who really knows how he's going to be able to mesh when he's a lot older, but still, if you wanted to accelerate that process, you wanted to get Patty Kane playing with Auston Matthews sooner rather than later, then maybe a cheap deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs is all that needs to make it happen. I don't know. Of course, we have been floating around from article to article to article in this video, firstly talking about how Kane says he is feeling better, how he's feeling the best he has felt in a while, the article about how he could be a fit with the Leafs, and then the article from 2 years ago talking about his comments regarding Matthews. All the links will be in the description below if you want to go ahead and read any of these further, but let me know your thoughts in the comment section. How do you feel about this idea of the Toronto Maple Leafs going after Patrick Kane and signing this guy to a deal? Now, of course, this could be completely vetoed by the time the video gets publicized on YouTube. By the time I press that public upload button, this video could be dumb and worthless if Patrick Kane decides to sign a deal within the next 24 hours or so. But with this idea in mind right now, what are your thoughts about the Toronto Maple Leafs adding yet another franchise superstar, first overall American phenom, maybe for a cheap price? Maybe for a bit more. If they trade Nylander away soon, maybe they could free up the cap space to do that. Who really knows? In my opinion, it would be the ultimate balls to the wall, we are trying to win in 2024 type of move, and one of these things where if it works and you win the cup, then great, you win. But if you can't make it past the second round again, if you can't win in the second round again, then things look even worse than they did before. So, thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about the idea of Patrick Kane to the Leafs? I hope you enjoyed this Vrishashros 99. And Bye.